Happy 2026, our first Substack Live. Hi, Gra. Nice to have you. So we have a tight out at in 15 minutes. So I'm just going to hop into it. We're all hitting the ground running this year. Okay. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, this came from Melissa, is A24 and their merch game. So when Melissa sent me this, I obviously we have to kick off the conversation with Marty Supreme because it's like 2 months later, I'm still seeing that jacket on my timelines. And obviously, he just won the Critics' Choice Awards. So if you don't know, Timothy Chalamet and A24's new movie, Marty Supreme, came out. They've put out a bunch of merch around it, including a windbreaker jacket that they sold for $250. It sold out immediately. And now it's on the secondary market for like 2,000 plus. So this Marty Supreme, Megan, you just released with your Substack, Cool Shiny Culture, the Algo Press Tour about celebrities and how they're gaming the algorithms. So what are your thoughts on A24's strategy with this?
Well, we've been following Marty Supreme, Timmy Chalamet, and I feel like everybody has, we've talked about it even offline for the past few months, and just all the press that's gone into promoting this film. And A24 in general is really good at doing press in the modern era, which in the piece that we wrote about the Algo Press Tour, we talk a lot about how it relies on relevance within the algorithm as you're looking to attune to people who are not tuning into content. They're expecting content to come to them. It's all about relevance. And A24 is so good at tapping into relevance, and merch is hyper relevant for Gen Z. That's something that we know across the board. Gen Z loves merch, but it's not just any merch, right? It's you have to match the merch with the audience. And this Windbreaker, Hypebeast, Marty Supreme mashup with the Safdie brothers, I feel like it's not just that they did merch, it's that they executed super well.
Interesting.
I guess, yeah, I think even just stepping back for a second, because obviously we're talking about the Marty Supreme jacket, but the item that I actually had sent to Emma was about this Florida guidebook that they did. And I was like, this is just so funny. And I feel like that's very on brand for A24. They're always sort of surprising, doing things that feel offbeat to me, but are always curious. A couple years ago, we did the digital strategy for Turner Classic Movies. And so as part of the competitive set, we looked at A24. And at the time, I think it was Jonah Hill was directing a movie, and he was doing all this content just specifically online for what they called their zine. So, obviously zine is just so of a certain time, feels very scrapbooky. It's kind of like Tumblr, and very again, it's very personalized. And it was such a cool sort of complement and supplement to the content that Jonah was producing and doing. So I almost just I feel like I wanted to sort of take a beat to talk about how do they think about merch, and obviously you're right, Meg. This Marty Supreme execution was so smart, but I feel like this isn't just a random one-off, right? This is sort of built on an internal way of thinking about content, tied to the Algo Press Tour. But they've been doing it for a while, and I'm trying to kind of get at the heart of how and what do they do? Why are they turning? How are they turning and looking at things in a different way?
Yeah, A24 really heavily leans into curation, and I think they take that sensibility into their merch strategy, where it's kind of a lot of their products are stuff that you would see in any hipster store on the east side in LA, like leather-bound books and like you said, a guidebook to the off the beaten path spaces and places you would go. So it's the things that you're already seeing in the spaces of the Hollywood tastemaker, but applied to A24 branding. And I think that that zine, I remember it was like certain places it was being dropped around LA. And again,
Yeah, they actually like printed it for,
yeah,
yeah. Oh,
at
interesting.
the LA Hollywood set to talk about it. But now that's not as valuable as getting the algorithm, the Gen Zs, the very extremely online people to talk about your product. So they moved from like this, like just doing, because they still do these types of things in zines and books, but they also do more hype beastie style merch drops, like the Marty Supreme jacket. And then they also do like script books, which I think are really cool. Like buy a beautifully bound copy of a script of
the
one.
script.
Yeah, and so I think just leaning into, again, like this curation of film and goods together, like that cross section is what makes it better than it's just like
Mhm.
a shirt.
Yeah. I also think it's them partnering with curators like in the space. Like the Marty Supreme jacket didn't pop off just because Timothy Chalamet was wearing it. They like sent it to Michael Phelps and Tom Brady and Bill Nye, all these like goats in their own respective fields, and had them over the course of like 2 months, like wearing it and posting it and getting like papped in it and stuff like that. And with the hyper local Florida guide, Melissa, that you sent, they partnered with Gabrielle Calise, who's a Florida resident, and she is a culture and nostalgia reporter for the Tampa Bay Times. So, like, she is a curator of Florida culture, and they tapped her to pull this guide together.
All right. Do you guys think their approach to merch like makes a lot of money?
I
No.
mean, yeah, it's probably like a drop in the bucket compared to like what their movies are grossing, but I think it gives them like cultural cachet. I was thinking about this like when I was prepping for this call, and I'm like on their website and they sell A24 hats and A24 t-shirts, and I'm like, you would never see somebody walking down the street in a Netflix t-shirt or like a Disney Plus t-shirt in a way you do with A24.
Disney Plus.
In the future of their brand as like a prestige brand in the film space, where I feel like a lot of Hollywood brands are just the dollar and they're kind of like losing some of their prestige, like HBO. So I
Yeah.
or it's still looked at as like prestige-y, and part of that is because they have this highly curated merch. I would doubt that I would guess that they're doing kind of a Kardashian model where they have like a product, they have very small quantities, and then if it sells well enough, they'll do a restock and like have it in-house all the time. But I doubt that they're making bank on this, but I think they could in the future when the brand becomes a household name that carries the cachet that they're now investing in.
Well, okay, so here's my last question on this then. So taking them as inspiration, like if you were to go to HBO and HBO wanted to do something like this, what are like 1 to 3 quick bullets that you would say that
Well,
they should do?
a whole can of worms that we can't even get into. I'm actually reading right now called It's Not TV, It's HBO. And it's like about the rise of HBO, how they built this, and reading it right now when HBO is kind of crumbling is it's quite a trip. But I think in general, the takeaways for just brands that I would say here is just like it's gonna sound what we always say, but like you really need to meaningfully understand your audience before you go out. Like, I know that that's just like my party line because that's what I do, help you understand your audience, but it really does help lead to a creative partnership.
But
A lot of the people right now are talking about co-creation, and it's not just putting stuff out. It's like your audience is part of the success of the creative project. And I think A24 does that really well, where they're creating another buzzword community around their product and their brand. And they're like participating in that really actively and understand their audience super well and are super serving them rather than trying to be everything for everybody.
well, okay, but that's what I was going to say. So looking at them as a case study, are they producing this merch for a specific subset of their audience? So like that LA set, because if you have equity with that set, it has, by default, it ends up having greater mass appeal.
And I say LA, Hollywood, but I mean like film, cinema, bro. People who fancy themselves caring about the movies and like the theaters. And there's a lot of people like that, like all over the place. I think there's more of a concentration in New York and LA, partially because our theaters are so much nicer. But that's part of the cachet of like, you could be somewhere like that's not cool, but you're the A24 guy in your town. And you're the person that everybody goes to for film recommendations and like that cachet with it.
Yeah, I think that is so, so important. Like the way that you sort of just clarified that, because I feel like Substack also does that, but with like the New York, like writing author set. Like I feel like even when I think of other Substacks that get elevated or have more attention, like I think that they're trying to appeal to a very specific set of people that give the brand equity and validity. And then, but they're not marketing to everybody. Yeah.
And Colin and Samir talked about this a lot in the rise of TikTok, and they called out something TikTok did really well is thoughtfully choose their model citizens like Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae and all of those people as like, this is what we want you guys to emulate. And if you're at the top, you're going to be emulated. So I think something that I'm interested right now in Substack is like there's this weird economy of takes where it's like someone has a take, it's popular, so then everyone has iterations on that take, and then everyone's like, I'm sick of hearing takes about this. And I'm like, but this is how it works now. Like if your thing is going to be popular, then by nature of the internet, everyone's going to copy it and it's going to get oversaturated. Like that's just how it works and you can't undo that. So it's interesting. Like I feel like Substack has not quite figured out how they're going to. I don't think that they've raised a model citizen that is going to be a sustainable model to duplicate for people in a way that they need to.
I love that. Emma, even if, okay, so I know we're like 4 minutes away from our time. I think that this whole conversation is just relevant. Like this, we can wrap it in, the next couple minutes. But I think that idea of like raising model citizens is like so interesting to examine when it comes to the platform, specifically Substack. Like
I'm gonna make us talk just really quick about one thing that I know Emma was gonna bring up, MrBeast. So do you want to feel on the
Yeah, let's do it.
Basically, he has become YouTube's model citizen for about.
Wait, sorry, you blinked out for a second. I didn't hear what you said.
That he's become YouTube's model citizen for better or worse. Like it's MrBeast. Everyone else was like trying to chase what MrBeast did, but his manager has some thoughts on that. Emma, do you want to?
Yeah, his former manager just came out and basically said mega star creators like MrBeast are over and that we're beyond that now. There will be no celebrity creators, and instead he's investing in like small niche creators that are like hyper focused in their specific area. But I know Megan, you had a strong POV on that.
Yeah, I think I overall agree with the take, like kind of what we're saying. The MrBeast as model is not sustainable, but I also was like, I wish it was coming from a different source because I also just like don't see MrBeast as a creator. I see him as a game and the algorithm was his game and he beat it, got to the final boss and he knows how to do all the tricks and like that, but I don't see what he does as creation. I see it as he figured out the little loophole in the algorithm how to go viral every time and that's his niche, but that's not a sustainable strategy or a replicable one. And I think that's part of why YouTube is in a bit of a kind of like relevance decline because there's not an inspirational model citizen. I made a TikTok about this, how I'm like, there's no content for people like me. Like there's a content gap because I've aged out of the 20-year-old lifestyle girly content. But the 30-year-old lifestyle girlies aren't making content that's speaking to me because they're making what the algorithm incentivizes, which is like best ever, biggest thing, like watch me get locked up and I don't want to watch that. I want to watch like more calm content that's like more age appropriate. So yeah, I don't think that MrBeast is a good model citizen for YouTube or any platform. But I agree with yours take that niche is the future.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's such a even stepping back for a second, like that's what any agent does. They all look at up and coming creators and like, I mean, whether or not they would replicate MrBeast, like there's just infinite ways that somebody can come to fame or to a certain level or monetization and whatnot. So, and he's such a hyper specific example to your point, Megan. Like he's not like, I don't know. I think what's interesting, and I guess it's just even my own content consumption, like I just don't get the same sense of like digital neighborhoods of like topics or conversation or like dialogue or like community for YouTube. And I know that it's there. It just feels like this like by extension sort of place that like it happens elsewhere and then everyone graduates to YouTube because YouTube has the best monetization model. And then it's just sort of like their long form output. But that idea of it like sort of growing within a certain space, like that you do see on YouTube and you do see on TikTok. I mean, sorry, you do see on Instagram and you do see on TikTok. Like it just, I think that that's where it doesn't feel as like connected. It just feels like broadcast out more.
Yeah. Which I also what we were saying with A24, it's like you felt connected to that. Like everyone felt like Marty Supreme day. Like I don't want to see that movie, but I want Marty Supreme to be successful so Timmy can be successful. Marty Supreme Christmas Day. So I think that's kind of what people are looking for. Emma, I feel like you said this really poignant earlier. You had said something about connection.
I mean, I think this is maybe a topic we'll cover next week, but like about things that are so convenient now. I feel like people are craving human connection over convenience. And that's why we're seeing the rise of like IRL events. And like they did a pop-up for that Marty Supreme jacket. Like people had to go out in person to buy that. And now they're having to like stroll through Poshmark to get it for $2,000. And same with like their Florida book, you know, like you have to like work for it. And maybe that's like the thing with, I mean, MrBeast obviously worked for it, but it's like, it's so in your face. It's a little empty of the human connection.
Convenient path to success, which is just like hyperbolic. I'm doing the spending a ton of money, but I love that convenient connection over convenience.
Yeah, where A24 is like been building to this for years. Okay, I know we have to hop, guys. So this Friday, we'll put this out on Substack so you can watch on demand. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.